Derek, Super Sunny Singh is one of your mounts come Sunday afternoon. That was a really big run last time with a tough trip.
Yes, last time he just first start back, and he carried top weight with the outside draw is tough for him, and he still finished very strong. So we're all happy, and this time we have a back draw again. So hope can find a bit of luck to slot in somewhere around midfield.
How do you overcome that draw, Derek? I mean, the poor horse has had wide draws all his life. Is it just a case of taking him back and riding for a little bit of luck with him?
Well, last time with outside draw, but after you jump, you can see that couple horse around him with the back position is a lot of good horse to follow. So the best horse is there in front, so you don't want to be too far back with the top weight. You just couldn't catch them. So I'd rather see him midfield free wide rather than take him the last. And it's tough way for him, but he still finished good.
He won second up last season. Now he won on easier ground. Last time was quite quick ground. Do you feel he handled that quicker ground okay?
I think he can handle both track, and he's still only a couple races. He only have a couple races, and when the young horse carry the top weight, it's always a challenge for him. And with the outside draw, so just need more luck.
That race last time, he ran the second quickest sectional home, so he's got that electric turn of foot, which is always going to stand him in good stead, isn't it?
Yes, but all depends the first 400 where he can slot in. If he's too far back, the top weight doesn't matter how fast he can finish. It's still quite difficult for him.
David, Wide Blue Yonder is one of your runners this Sunday afternoon. It was a big day's racing. He's racing extremely well, this horse, and back to the well you go on Sunday.
Yes, we decided to go for the mile. I think he's probably going to make into a nice middle distance horse. And with the lightweight, I think he'll be competitive.
Was that always the plan? I mean, he is still eligible, obviously, for Class 4, but with that, he'd obviously carry a big weight. So was it always your intention to go into Class 3?
It was a bit of a flip of the coin. He's a mid-sized horse, so I do think that probably the lighter weight will be more of an advantage. But I've always wanted to see him at a mile, so he's third up, and it'll be nice to see him at this distance.
And in the sort of the hope of getting that extra distance, which you sound confident he will, how much has the tongue tie helped him, David? He wore that last time.
Yeah, I thought he plays with the bit and gets his tongue over if you don't. So it's not a big issue. It's just that it ensures that he keeps the tongue under the bit. At his first start, he got his tongue over the bit.
A huge run last time. He was giving £15 to the winner, and he really sort of knuckled down to the task, because he's always showing you that tenacity and that he's a bit of a sort of a battler.
He's a layback horse, right, that really fights. Yeah. So I think that'll stand him in good stead for his Hong Kong career.
He beat Amazing Victory a few starts ago. He's now gone on to win again. He's also got form around Tuchel, who's rated 77. So the form book doesn't lie. I mean, it's all there, isn't it?
Yeah, I can see him at some stage getting up to those ratings. And as I said, he's a consistent horse, and if he runs a mile, he'll find a lot of races suitable for him in Hong Kong.
Not wanting to put the cart before the horse, if you will, but thinking that he might get up to that sort of rating. Are you thinking that as a 4-year-old, he might possibly be a horse that would take on some of those better races in time?
Look, we'll talk after the race on the weekend, but let the horse do the talking first. But that's what we're hoping. In the back of our mind, it's all about getting qualified for the longer races if he's good enough.
It's always a nice plan to have. He's got a very lightweight. You've engaged Wagner Borges, £115. He'll think he's loose, won't he?
Yeah, he'll love it. And I think at a mile he won't be too far away, and he'll be catch me if he can.
Wagner has ridden for you before. He doesn't ride for you all that often. He rode Nervous Witness. I wanted to ask you on that horse, what's the latest on Nervous Witness, David?
Yeah, he had a colic attack over the off-season and had to have a operation. It's been successful, and if you just start watching Chung Fa, he's just starting to do a little bit of fast work now, but probably we'll have him ready just after the international meet in the 1,000-metre group race in the new year is the race we'll be setting him for.
I imagine perhaps a little bit of a disappointment, bittersweet perhaps. Obviously, one of the horses come through his colic operation well, but you'll miss the international meeting.
Yeah, look, unfortunately, when he had the colic operation, we had to give him the time. We could have got him back for it, but it would have been rush preparation. And Archie's pretty senior owner and has been around a lot, and he's very happy to wait. So I think if we don't push him hard now, we'll have a good sprinter for the back end of the season.
John, you've got a couple of runners in race 7 on Sunday afternoon. If we could start with a little Running Glory. He was a real find last season, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's been amazing. I mean, he's only a diminutive little horse, but he's got a very big heart. He knows how to win a race. He certainly knows where the winning post is. But he's got himself up in class pretty quickly. So, you know, he's got to go through the paces to try and improve to come up to that.
He's been up to Chung Fa. That's something you do obviously a lot with a number of your horses. Ran third in the trial. In fact, I think you trained all 4 in that trial. So what was your assessment of that performance from him?
Well, you know, it was a nice sort of workout trial for the horses, but we didn't learn too much. It's a very slow run, which is fine. It's suitable. But I think now that he's in this grade, there's not too many opportunities for them to run. So I'll bring him down and race him, and then we'll know more about him after that.
And just given his sort of stature and his demeanour, I mean, obviously it's never going to be easy for these horses, but I guess when they've got a big heart, it can certainly take them a fair way.
Sure, I mean, his character's got plenty to do with everything that's living, you know. So I mean, and particularly in a racehorse. So if he's a willing participant, and he loves to fight out a finish, that's going to take him a long way. His size, his weight, or however you want to describe it, sometimes the smaller horses are sounder in some respects, and sometimes they handle racing very well. So it's not always a good thing, but with some small horses, it suits them.
I think you once said to me in an interview that it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the fight in the dog, which I thought was fantastic. He might well fight out the finish with your other runner, BOURBONAIRE. What on his run last time, John? What was the fallout from there? Because he was that little bit disappointing.
He was, but he probably did a strong gallop down the back straight. You know, from the outside draw, he worked a little bit hard in the early part of the race, and looked like he was just not fit enough to go on with it. We can't sort of forget that his outstanding performance was on a wet track, and that might come into play at some point. You know, that might be his advantage in life. He gets on a track that's not so quick. I'd expect this track on Sunday to be fairly fast track.
He's also returning to 1,800 metres. Do you think the further he goes, the better he is?
It looks a bit that way. He's a bit one pace for the 1,600 metre races, so we'll ask him to go a bit further, see if he looks any better.
The handicap has done him a little favour by dropping him a pound. That can't be a bad thing.
Yeah, he must have felt guilty about something. I can't imagine what.
2 nice chances in the race, John, and I guess they'll both come and run their races.
Yeah, I think they'll run quite well.
Zach Lucky SWEYNESSE is your ride in the big race this Sunday, the Premier Bowl. He's a horse very much on the up, isn't he?
Yeah, he certainly keeps raising the bar every start. He was impressive last time with no weight on his back. Carries a little bit more this time around, and he's drawn really awkward, so it's a big task ahead of him, but you know, he deserves his place in the field, and see how he goes.
You're obviously unable to ride him last time. You would have obviously looked back on that race, I'm sure, and obviously had a good handle on the form. What was your impression of that performance from him?
It was certainly impressive. You know, he was slow out of the gate. Had to do a lot of work in the early and mid stages to get the position that he had in a really fast run race, and then he accelerated, you know, very nicely when he was asked, and put them to bed. So, you know, he couldn't have been any more impressive, really.
What of his recent trials, Zach? I mean, you've had a sit on him since then, of course, and he looked to be really good in that trial.
Yeah, he was just a little bit grubby coming out of the gates. He didn't fly. He's got that tendency. It's probably one of the only things he sort of does wrong. He doesn't always hit the ground running, so he needs to get that right from a bad gate.
Talking of his gait, now I went back and had a look at his run 2 starts ago when you rode him. Now he mustered quickly and he got to the lead. And is that necessarily something he has to do, or can he take a lead? I mean, from your gait, what's your train of thought going into the race?
It's just to get him out the gates first, and then see what happens. This is a different race. We're up against different horses. It's a different class of race, so there's going to be a lot more pressure, I would assume.
I guess there's a bit obviously against him. Like you say, he's unproven in this type of grade. I mean, I know Manfred's always had a decent opinion of him, and having spoke to you about him a few times, I mean, he was doing noticeable things wrong early doors. Do Do you feel that now he's becoming more the finished article?
Wouldn't say it's a finished article yet. He, like I said, he can clean up his manners, getting out the gates a little bit better, and he's got that tendency to want to hang in the straight. So, you know, they're the two things that you need to help him with, but everything else he's pretty good. He gets it right.
Zach, Oriental Smoke has been a horse very much on the improve this season, 2 from 2, and he's bidding to make it 3 on Sunday. I bet you're looking forward to getting on him again.
Yeah, of course. He's turned into a very decent horse. He's got a good record. He applies himself well every time he goes out there, and he's improving. So he deserves his chance in this grade. Obviously, the barrier hasn't helped. That makes things really difficult. And you know, he steps back to the 1400. All his wins have been at the 1200. He's always given the impression that he'll run further. And I think at some stage he's going to win over the distance. So I don't see that as a problem, but you know, he's certainly going to have to do some work from the gate.
Just early on, sort of in his racing career, Zach. I mean, he sort of, there were occasions when he perhaps looked like, you know, it wasn't going to happen for him. But is he a horse that's just sort of, you know, the penny's beginning to drop with him now?
Yeah, I don't think the penny has dropped with him yet either. He's still got that tendency. He carries his head quite high and he pricks his ears, and he doesn't run away from them and put them to the sword. He just seems to do what he has to do, even though he's sort of won by a couple of nice margins a couple of times. He has been floating in front, so you know, hopefully there's more there and he can keep going on with it.
Do you think with the lightweight, obviously in what is a very competitive race, you know, he obviously can get quite competitive in a race like this? Do you think? Yeah,
he deserves his chance in the field for sure, but you know, I would have liked to have drawn a nice gate and given him a nice run to give him his chance. From the gate, he's going to have to do a little bit of work, and at the end of last season when he drew wide and had to do a bit of work, he was vulnerable in the straight, so it could be a similar thing here.